Yeah, as we look at AI and energy, the question is not only how much we use, but it's also how we design the systems behind it. And our next speaker focuses exactly on that. She works on how AI infrastructure can be built differently, moving away from centralized models and using distributed systems that run on available green energy. We're happy to have her. Erin Beilharz, founder and CEO of Navon. Please welcome her on our stage here. Not the CEO? I'm sorry that, so she's not CEO, so she will tell you the right thing.
This one?
This one, and this is the
play button.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry for the mix-up. Yes, of course. Please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good. Yes, I am going to talk to you today about our company that we founded 2 years ago. And I'm going to take you from Africa to Europe and back to Africa. I realize that this is a conference for European IT. We have a two-pronged business with our company Navon, but there's definitely a lot of overlaps in between Africa and Europe that I can see right now with the global economy and with what's going on in the world, and how we are building infrastructure which is going to serve us for a very changing IT landscape right now. So, currently we're in 2026, and for me the context of what I'm feeling right now in my life is I have 2 or 4 roles, let's say. I have a full-time job and I started a company. And this would not have been possible without AI, because I would have had to do my full-time job full-time, and I wouldn't be able to clone myself. But AI is allowing us to do just that. And AI is in the context of a changing thing from what we just heard, or the way I experience it. Do you know what this is? This is a little, what it's called a lobster. This is the logo of OpenClaw. How many of you have OpenClaws? Yes, very good. A couple of you. I have one right now as well, but I didn't feed it, and so it's broken at the moment. I have to feed it when I get home, feed it more tokens. But what I see in my enterprise role at Lufthansa, and then as well in my startup, is that the way that we're using AI is going from chat into agentic. And what this means as well with regards to infrastructure is that people are trying to figure out if we're able to get away from using all of the AI that we access over the usual suspects, the hyperscalers, the OpenAIs of this world, or if this is from a cost and potentially a sovereignty perspective, the right way to go for every type of query or every type of workhorse that we want to get done. So we have, in this regard, we had a discussion about reusing your devices in your digital drawer. I have 2 laptops that I have now kind of not repurposed, but turned back on and dusted off from 2013, which have the OpenClaws on them. And they're not super robust, I would say, but it's better than nothing. You can take your drawer, open it up, and see if there's anything in there that can be repurposed for that, and have a nice experiment. What does this mean, though, with regards to what I'm seeing within enterprise? There's also this potential OpenClaw or NanoClaw or moment as well in companies, which is, do we need to hire IT solution providers for every little thing? Do we need to use American Cloud for every little thing, or do we start to look at building our own infrastructure or building our own models and maintaining them to do specific things? I have one consulting project that I'm doing for a very large German company, and they have a problem, a very painful problem, which is that their API connections towards their suppliers' ERP systems and theirs cost upward of 10,000, sometimes 34,000, sometimes 50,000 euro to connect the suppliers, basically SAP with their SAP. Okay, so there's a lot of things happening probably incompetence, forgetting to follow up, things like that, just normal people problems. But the question then remains, do we need to be working in such a stupid way? Probably not. Can we do something which is potentially risky on the one hand, but potentially very, very cheap and cool on the other hand, is make a little sandbox, build something where our system can completely build out an ERP agentic connection software, and then you can reuse it for all of your suppliers globally. Wouldn't that be fun to try out? And if it then is able to be done, could we then not migrate it, check that the code is clean, and then put it into an enterprise version? So if I see here what I'm coming into contact with as problem statements and how to think through how can we do this differently than what we've been doing before, which is use an agency and pay whatever $34,000 and waste months and months and to have this very simple thing done. Can't we do those things differently? And how many different kind of stupid problems are existing in enterprise and smaller businesses, which we haven't dealt with because we don't know how. Honestly, we don't know how to connect APIs. Do you know? I don't know how to connect an API. I know how to do it in Google when it's very easy, but like from scratch, I don't know how to do that. It would take me a lot of effort to like watch YouTube videos and do that, but you don't have to do it with this new type. So when you look at like the landscape of what is the demand and where is the demand, it might not all be in these hyperscale American mega projects that we're hearing about, the trillion-dollar bet, the multi-billion-dollar investment that OpenAI is doing in Texas with Elon and all of these fancy people with fancy budgets. We're in Europe, we don't have fancy budgets. We had fancy people, they might have gone to Silicon Valley, some of them might be feeling sick to their stomach and might be coming back at one point. So I've been living in Europe for a long time. I was living in some developing markets before that, but Europe also has this kind of lethargicness, which is rubbing me the wrong way sometimes. It has like a very satiated, very like not motivated by fire. It looks like you need to put a lighter, you know, behind some of the lawmakers and some of the people. We have as well not free-flowing capital as we have in the US, but this is also the experience that we have in Africa. So my co-founder, Romy, we have two. I have a co-founder who's Kenyan, and I have a co-founder who's Indian. And another co-founder is Tanzanian, actually. And the Global South narrative has been really a burning one. All of them have left many years ago. I left Canada many years ago, but the view of this raw talent, the view of this different mentality to what we have in Europe, which is not in my backyard, no data center, we don't want AI to ruin our children's brains, and social media is evil, and all of this kind of stuff. They don't have it there because guess what? They sometimes don't have electricity at all. We have luxury problems here. When you talk about the negatives of AI and all of these things, we have luxury problems here that we really need to point at, name, and show ourselves as well, that the opportunity space of what we're able to build and the future economies that we are not able to visualize yet is everyone's responsibility as an adult in here to think about when you interact with each other, with children, with your pets, whatever. So, okay, I think I went on a tangent here. I'm back. So we have supermodels everywhere. The DIY tech, you can, with a open source model, you might be a few months behind what is cooking in Silicon Valley. What's cooking in Silicon Valley is probably not what we have for $20 a month either. I think they have something quite different, but we're only a few months behind, ever. And so what we had a few months ago was what you're able to deploy for free on your laptop from 2013 with an OpenClaw. Think about that. Think about how much that will cost you when you don't have to pay for tokens for all of the grunt work that AI is able to do. So this is kind of, I think, a recollection that I seem to have because I've used my tokens a few times and not even realizing what happened to them at all. Like, I need to then go back and say, girl, what have you done here? Like, you've really, like, you don't know how to use AI properly, even though you use it every day. And you sort of start to have this recollection or this realization that you as a human need to actually pull up your socks and get better. So what we have done here, so you have this, the brain is like the Claude's 4.7 now, and the muscle is then your nano Chinese bot, whatever, that you're able to split them out to reduce costs. So this is kind of, I think, what we're seeing right now. And then we have the shift politically from we need to get out from the Chinese and the American overlords, and how do we do that? And that can be done through open source systems in a way. It doesn't mean that we should only rely on that, because we're going to be leaving a lot of value on the table, and we're going to be giving up any position that we have if we do not use the best models. But we have to start thinking about what is a good balance, and how do you design this for yourself in your company and in whatever capacity you're working in. We have at Navon, we have two different paths that we're forging right now. One of the paths we're forging much more strategically and with much more force and effort, which is we're building a data center in Kenya. This is the first one for our African expansion, but we want to build modular data centers all over green, basically connected to green power across the African continent, priced differently for that market. And what we say is right fit. But we also have a European business which is looking at taking the same technology stack that we have built and delivering it to European investors or potentially power plants who are producing green energy, and there's a surplus somewhere. So currently, this is not the way that data centers are being acquired here. There's something called FLAP-D, which is Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris, and Dublin. And if you look at the co-location market, nobody is really very interested in anything which doesn't have FLAP-D in it. And if they are, it's quite discounted. So there's a lot of pressure to build in those areas because there's good fiber optics and because there's a good ecosystem. However, you can't get permitting. So there's projects which we have been pursuing for well over kind of a year and a half, which are not able to get permitted, and so they're kind of stuck. This is because I don't want a data center in my backyard. I don't want to see it. I have a villa with a view, and if you put towers, then it's going to ruin my view. It's going to bring down my property value, and we don't need AI because we are Europe, and we want to drink good coffee, and we want to do all of these other things, and this is, let somebody else do it. But that is not congruent with building the next economy, which we haven't imagined yet. So, moving on. I think I'm freestyling a little bit. That doesn't surprise me. Okay, so Navon are three kind of pillars that we really are standing behind in any market is the sovereignty, the sustainability, and the accessibility. The accessibility for us is also coming from deep tech. My two co-founders coming from quantum computing and myself coming from kind of sustainable aviation fuel within a role at Lufthansa, a lot of lightweighting technologies, really going into molecular redesign. We see the amount of value by putting this technology into the hands of people with chemistry PhDs or physics PhDs or biology PhDs, putting it into the hands of engineers to redesign our concept of what the world is going to be for the next generation. So what we have here in terms of what we are building, Jensen has called it the 5-layer cake, and this is basically what AI is made out of. The ingredients are not flour and sugar. The ingredients are energy, chips, infrastructure, models, applications. And so what we are building in Kenya with the first kind of launch for us and the flagship property is we have geothermal energy, which we've sourced out of Alcaria, which is Rift Valley. We have very, very good energy prices, which we've sourced on purpose, meaning we've gone to Kenya because of the energy, because of the market, because of the talent, and because of the absolute gap in infrastructure with a multi-million market, and because as well of the hunger for infrastructure and the ease with which politicians are allowing projects to come online. A very different story from Europe, I think. And because we have a lot of different partners across the technology stack, we've made partnerships to be able to offer cloud to these universities there, STEM universities, and to our customers there. So what we have essentially is we've built up an ecosystem to offer the first supercomputer in Kenya to universities. We have already contracts with 10 universities doing with STEM programs in Kenya. And then we would like to expand this out further. We have enterprise customers as well. And so plan is to start, we're scheduled for January 4th, 2027. So in a few months from now. And we're building all of this in one big site in Kenya. So what do we have? We have, this is kind of a rendering, but let's imagine that it looks like this. We produced these in Europe. We fit them out. We designed the rack configuration of how to configure chips in the most economically sustainable way for these growth markets, so that it's affordable and so that the capital investment comes way, way down, and so that you're able to, wherever you find littler bits of energy, that you're able to build out more kind of edge systems or smaller systems, that you're not going after these huge AI training factories, but you're going after factories that can deliver more inferencing or more, usable AI that you would need. We are here serving sovereign economies. We have post-quantum encryption that we're offering, and we are doing a test bed for quantum communication, which is the first globally, because we have place to do it there, and we have a government which is willing to work with us on developing new things. So this is moved around. Okay. Google. Okay. So what do we have in terms of a European context? We have a lot of shift away from American technology. We have a lot of different pieces of news in the past kind of 3-ish months, I would say, which are really showing that government and large companies are trying to pull away from this American dependency. And when I look at Europe and I look at the European map, which actually I tried to look for a European map and I didn't find the one that I wanted, but if you look at Europe, you have a huge amount of population, I think 500 million people, give or take, and you have a small geography, and you have an incredible infrastructure footprint with regards to all of the fiber optic cables connecting with roads, with huge populations, with well-educated populations. And you have a very distributed energy grid, and you have a lot of problems of building new power onto the grid, because the grid is the problem, not the energy. So there's underused pockets of energy all over Europe in terms of wind farms, in terms of solar farms. And so if you take the kind of hypothesis and the ethos of what we're building in Africa, you can translate it directly onto a map of Europe. So we have a project in Austria that we're looking at right now, which is basically to build one of these systems, and the systems can be as low as 100 kilowatts, and they can go up to, the price point difference is at 10 megawatts, it no longer makes sense to build modular. So 10 megawatts is 20 of these containers, to give you a kind of idea. So anything in that range would be economically viable. And think about all of the different use cases that we have at all of the different companies. We've had a huge shift away from on-prem to cloud, but now we see that it's going into private cloud, going back into potentially on-prem or on-prem for your IP. We see this that we have the European OEM and really engineering prowess here, which is as soon as you feed it all into that black box, it's maybe gone. So there's this understanding of not everything belongs on Azure anymore, and which decisions do we make? And so for us, it's a very interesting market here, because the way that decisions have been made and are being made here right now is to follow the old invest in a co-location, put it in FLAP-D, pay a lot of money for it, and then that's the whole plan. If you look at the US market of where these data centers are being based, they're being based in the middle of nowhere where they can get permitting and very close to energy. And so Europe is not really doing that. Europe is missing the golden opportunity that they have because of their geography. I think they're missing the point royally. Okay, so the ethos: build smart locally with sovereignty and with green energy. Europe has done so much investment into green energy, and it would be really stupid not to do this. So, old approach, throw more compute at it. Navon approach, be clever with what compute you throw at it. Be clever with which capital investment you make. All of these chips are going to not be the state of the art very soon. Yeah, there's always this constant thing, so do not over-provision and overbuild. Build as you go, build as you need. But the demand is infinity. This is why there's talks of outer space and all of this. This is actually something that I do personally believe. So Hellsgate, this is our Kenya project. I'll give you a kind of few fun facts. So we're on 95% geothermal. There's still a little bit of other energy in the mix, but it should be going to 100% geothermal at the end of this year with a designated line going in from the power plant. Tier 3, so this is almost the maximum and what you have within the competitive market. It's absolutely possible to achieve. With a PUE of 129, if that means anything to anyone, but probably not, because it's very specific data center jargon. Quick deployment, which makes capital expenditure cheaper. And so we have cheaper OpEx with energy, cheaper CapEx with build as you go. And that turns into CapEx only of roughly 40% less than a typical data center. Okay, so our plans are to build across Africa and then to deploy in Europe when somebody would like to operate themselves. So we're selling in Europe, but we're not planning on operating our own data centers here. So this is our site. It's a rendering. I think that this is the latest rendering, but could be that we have even later ones. But you can see here, the data center hall is here, and then there's space for new data center halls to grow up. So right now we are planning with 10 megawatts. It should fit in this kind of reddish square. And we're planning with co-working space and other things as well, which we're planning to install all modular. We are currently building the perimeter wall and installing the power lines and the last mile network. And here is an assembly plant, which we would then use to assemble these containers for the rest of the African deployment that we would do. This is our kind of pre-breaking ground event that we did with our customers in February. This is our CEO in the middle, Romy, with the kind of like finance bro vest. You see, he's an ex-banker, so he comes by it naturally. And this is the kind of idea of what it might look like. And this is something that I heard recently. I saw this in a podcast, I think, a couple of days ago. I don't know, do you agree or disagree with this? Agree? Agree? Agree. Okay, good. Thank you.